What up, watch peeps? I got the opportunity to check out something super cool. Maybe a little different than the usual Chillin' with Watches fare, but something I'm sure you guys will find interesting. Singularity makes single-hand display watches, but not in the traditional way you might be thinking like a Meister Singer. They have a really unique patented display that I knew was special from the first time I set the watch. Let's get into it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm Pete and we are Chillin' with Watches. Wrist check, sneak peek. I am wearing the new Seiko field watch. Check out those super cool, I don't know if they're applied or embossed Arabics, but they're metallic, super cool. This thing is fantastic. I really like it. 39 millimeters of field watch goodness. But what we're here to see today is this Singularity. Now this is a newer brand on the scene. They have only this one model at the time of recording. And it is a really cool 40.5 millimeter, check that bad boy out, single hand display watch. Comes in a really cool case though, single watch kind of roll, real nice pillow, all very well executed. I have been assured there will be more models to come in the future, but as you can guess by the name of the brand, Singularity, that will be the theme, will be this kind of singular method of displaying the time. Now, as far as colors go, they have a configurator. They build all these watches to order. So there is almost limitless possibilities of different colorways, and I will show you those later. Now, these aren't inexpensive watches. This is kind of a high horology piece, and you'll be looking at somewhere around $3,600 US to build your own unique watch. All right, let's first take a look at this dial and all the components because there's a lot going on here. So you have this outer hour ring. That is one of the first choices, and you can see it's kind of radially brushed. That's one of the first choices you'll be able to pick in the configurator. Then you have this minute. It's actually a minute wheel that is part of the movement. It is geared, and I will set the watch in a second and show you how that works because it is super cool. After that, you have this kind of inner ring you'll see with the Geneva stripes. And then you have this even further inner module that is kind of like the seconds hand register. You'll see ticks for the seconds. It's kind of screwed on module with a two-sided seconds hand. All of this is extremely well finished, and despite all the different finishings like the radial brush, the Geneva stripes, it still all comes together in a very cohesive way for me. Now, let me show you how this thing works. So I'm going to make this a screw down crown. It's not a screw down crown. And I do have a date version here. You'll see at 6 o'clock. Really cool red date wheel. So you pull out to set the watch. Now I'm going to show you how this works. See how's the hour hand. Right now I'm at like 1 o'clock. And you'll see it says 60 inside that little aperture on the hour hand. So that's how you know you're basically at 1 o'clock even. Now as I progress to hour 2, you'll see that minute wheel is moving reverse of the hour hand. 110, 115, 120. So as you're setting it, that is going in reverse. So not only do you not have a minute hand, you have a minute wheel, but it is reversed, I guess using a reversing wheel. And then not only that, because each minute, each 60 minutes doesn't take full 360 degrees because it takes 30 degrees less from basically 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to complete a full revolution. I know, I'm getting real mathematical on you guys. It's science, yo. But that is a super cool way of displaying the time. And when I first set this, I was like, whoa. It's just really fun to set. And it's really intuitive to read as well. It's not difficult at all to read. Let's see, I'll get it set somewhere down here so I'm out of the danger zone for the date wheel. We'll go for 7-ish. And you can feel it readily stops in that real nice smooth turning on the date wheel as well. Back to first position for winding. Really cool, fun to set the watch. The display, despite being so unique and so different, is actually quite intuitive and you get used to reading it very quickly. Let's take a look at the case, which I really love this case. The shape and the lines of this mid case are fantastic. I love the way it kind of cuts in and it's all very smooth. There's nothing sharp. The brushing is really well done. There's a very minimal case back, but the balance between like the mid case, the bezel, and the case back is fantastic. There's polishing on top of the lugs here. Most of the rest of the case is brushed except for maybe like this polished ring you'll see around the outside of the bezel. The lugs have a really nice turn down which really conforms to the wrist, and I understand they're trying to be different and unique here, and they have achieved that, but I'm not sure I love these hex bolts that they kind of have at the end for the, well, not spring bars, but screw bars. They're different, but they're kind of at odds with the elegance that they achieved with the rest of this design. Still quite functional, and it works. Taking a look at the case back, you'll see this is a display case back. Again, you have Geneva stripes on the rotor, and you'll see perlage finishing all over the movement. Again, real high horology stuff, and that is a Sellita SW300 in there. Really nice movement. That is, I believe they're rating it at plus or minus 4 seconds. But the case back from the backside, it's beautiful. The model I have here came on this strap that is, I don't know what this material is. It's like a Cordura or like if it's actually leather, but it's kind of etched. It is leather back, but there's several options of different leather straps and even a bracelet. So you know what, let me run you guys through the configurator so I can show you what some of those options are. So when we first opened their website, you can see a differently configured colorway right here, and I think it looks awesome. That kind of dark theme looks really good. What we're going to do is go into watches here and choose configure your own. Now the first choice you're going to have to make is whether or not you want a date or no date. I'm going to stick with the with date since that is similar to the model I have in for review. Now the first choice you got to make is what movement you want. You can either do the SW200, which adds nothing to the price, or an SW300, which adds $900 to the price. I'm going to stick with the 200 to keep the cost down. Next we're going to choose our hour ring. I kind of really like this black outer ring. Next we're going to choose the numerals we want. And I kind of like this burnt orange color. Maybe I'm copying that one on the front page. Next we're going to choose our minute ring. I'm going to go with the white or silver because I think it's more legible. Next we choose the center disc and texture. It's like this black perlage, but I'm going to go with this black waffle. Next we pick the seconds ring, and I'm just going to keep that black because I don't want to zebra stripe this thing. Now you choose your hand, the SNGLRTY hand. You can see you can have it without the white tip, blue. That kind of silver with the white tip was the best. And lastly, you pick your band. You see they have all sorts of different choices and grains of leather here, but I am going to go with this bracelet because I think it looks funky. Super cool. And that model comes out to $3,470. I think it looks pretty sweet. What a beautifully clean trace we're getting here. And by that what I mean is almost a single line. You'll see no outliers. That is indicative of this zero beat error, meaning it is just really running in tune. 270 healthy beat or healthy amplitude, and we're getting that -4. It was running -3. It jumps around when I start talking. I think it interferes with the microphone, but that is right within that plus or minus 4 second spec that they list. Running really well, no complaints. Going over the dimensions, we are looking at a 40.5 millimeter case that has a 47 millimeter lug to lug, very wearable, a nice thin 11.8 millimeters thick, and it has a rather unconventional 21 millimeter lug width. Love it or leave it, that's what you're gonna get. All right, going over some of the other specs. It does have a beautiful double dome sapphire crystal with 7 layers of inner AR coating on it. You'll see it's really clean, very viewable. I don't know what, if any, kind of lume this has, but we will take a look at that in a minute. I couldn't find anything on the website. It is running a Sellita SW300 movement, and it has 100 meters of water resistance, which is very respectable for something like this kind of dress sport watch. And on this strap that they provided for me, it came in at 83 grams. Let me show you guys the clasp real quick before I try it on wrist. It has a really nice milled out clasp with a really cool mechanism for the release. You see, you just kind of tuck the tail into the keepers, single press down. Looks very kind of similar to what you find on an IWC without the reversed where the tail goes under the strap. But really cool. All right, let's take a look at it on wrist. Here you can see how it wears on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. As you can see, it wears really well, not too large, which, you know, is something you might get with some of these kind of more complicated movements, but it is a nice size, wears really close to the wrist. The turn down on the lugs conform to the wrist shape really well. Really nice, comfortable wear. Let's take a look at it side by side some other watches. Sport watches for comparison is something I really run short on in my collection. So we'll start with the smallest and move our way up. This is a 36mm Explorer case. Here you can see how it stacks up. Definitely, obviously, a smaller watch. Both kind of comparably thin though. Alright, next moving up, we'll show you the new Seiko, which is a 39. And again, I think you can see it probably wears, I would have thought the Singularity wore smaller than its 40.5, but looking at it next to this 39, you can see it still wears larger than that. It has a very large dial opening and display. Much thinner watch than something using a 4-arm movement. Lastly, my other Seiko, the Alpinist, which I think is also 39 if I'm not mistaken. Smaller dial opening in the Seiko makes it wear slightly smaller, and the Singularity is a thinner watch. I don't have any larger 40 plus sport watches to compare this to, but you know, it's a great wear for its size. Alright, let's check out that lume.
Peep the lume.
Here you can see the Arabics are loomed, as is that hour hand. I believe this is using BGW9, which is not the brightest lume, but it does have a nice modern blue glow. There you go, the Singularity OHI4. I realize this isn't something you buy on a whim or even buy to try. It's a sizable outlay. But if you are into something different and unique and this design really speaks to you, and you can partly design the colorway yourself, then you will not be disappointed in the execution of the watch. It's really well done. Alright, before I let you go, sneaker check. I'm wearing my 11 lows and that's it. I'm out. If it's not too much trouble, please like, subscribe, and come back next time. Peace.